It's called the executive branch because you are the execution of the law. You don't make law, that's Congress. You don't enforce
Whoa.
law, that's
Whoa.
law enforcement. You are the executive.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Blue Sedition podcast. I'm Nate Brady alongside
I'm
Mike
Mike Smith.
Mike Smith, allegedly.
It's good to be back with you folks.
Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I think that I
Why are you
made it
talking like
through
that?
weekend.
Yeah, all right.
Because every time you have to take stock. Like normally you have this general feeling of how you are, but then like since the inauguration, your general feeling's much lower and you have to go, am I okay? Is
Yeah,
this all right?
it's the new norm is just feeling like absolute shit all the time because of everything that you're reading.
Yeah, I sort of posted about that on Blue Sky earlier where I was like, I forgot just how this feels like during the 2016-2020 Trump admin. Like you had to like get up and go, is my city on fire? Like is the
Yeah.
world burning down around me today or am I okay?
Yeah, it's
We had
interesting.
to make it through.
Yeah, because it's funny as we were coming up with some show notes for today. I was looking through the news and I was like, oh, it's kind of a slow news day. But the reality is, it's not. I mean,
Yeah.
this would have been a news day for the ages 30 years ago. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
so yeah.
Well, I think that was the thing that got me, that made me remember it so much, is that I think today they had the first big press briefing from the press room at the White House. Like they've done a couple, but this was the one where they answered like 40 or 50 questions and they
Okay.
talked about something that we're going to get to in a little bit.
Okay.
But like it was like, oh man, I really forgot how much bullshit they just spew out of that podium. Like that's the biggest thing, is that every time they do that, you're like, wow, this is like months of news 20 years ago, and it happened in a 20-minute presser.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we do, in fact, have a lot of stuff to get to today. So, where do you want to start?
Let's just go from there. I think I hinted to it, but there's no reason to. So, as a part of this presser briefing this morning, the Trump White House correspondence has decided that the Associated Press will no longer be invited to the press room. So AP is not going to have a seat at the White House press room.
And why is this?
Actually, I don't even remember.
Oh, I know
It's
why.
probably something. Oh, they refused to call it Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
in
mean,
the AP style
they
guide.
refuse to call it
I'm
Gulf
sorry,
of
Gulf of
America.
America.
Yeah.
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 In the AP style guide, they refused to update it to Gulf of
Right.
America, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and they got kicked out. They were kicked out of the newsroom back in the 2016 to 20 Trump admin as well, weren't they? Man, it's all coming back.
I honestly, I don't remember. But
I
yes,
do remember. I think that I can guarantee that they were kicked out of the first go round.
yeah, and also a judge has ruled that the Trump administration does not have to allow the Associated Press access.
Right.
So awesome. That's cool.
Technically, I agree with the judgment. They don't have to allow it, but it's a really shitty thing to do, and it's in bad faith acting.
I don't agree.
Like we don't do that with Fox News when we have a Democrat president. Biden's not like, Fox News is banned from here because they're not an actual news organization. That's not a thing that the Democrats do. They should, since this is the playbook now, but they never have. They're just like, yeah, you're going to lie about everything that I said on Fox News, and they're not going to hear any of our actual words. And I guess we're okay with that.
So I disagree with you and the judge, but there are caveats here, right? Like I think tactically it is hard to allow every single news organization into the White House briefing room.
Sure.
But on its face, what we're saying is their First Amendment is freedom of speech, freedom of the press, right?
Right.
And in other times, where there wouldn't be several other news organizations reporting the same thing over the internet, we can all see it, we can all hear it, we're watching it live, whatever.
Right.
If the president of the United States decided who was allowed in that room, and while it wasn't being broadcast live to the rest of us, I mean, we would never get the real news, right?
You get the news that they want to report either
Right.
way, but what you don't get is any pushback from news organizations asking questions.
Right.
So asking hard questions is really the reason that they're kicked out, is because they'll phrase a question along the lines of, well, that's a complete fabrication, so how do you respond to that? And they don't have a good response to it, so they just kick them out. But again, like you said, on the First Amendment side, like they have to have an open press briefing, and it is still being broadcast by C-SPAN. It's live, like you said. Everybody has access to that. And so the AP can still write about the press briefings that come out. They just don't have that access to ask questions.
Well, I mean, and then
Which
Charles,
is what they want in this style of government. They want it more dictatorial. They don't want questions asked because that shines light on their misdeeds.
yeah, I mean, counter to that, the attorney for the Associated Press argued that there are elements to be reported on that cannot be seen on television, and that it requires journalists being in the room. So I don't know.
I'm not sure I buy that, but whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We're not in there.
Yeah, I don't
mean,
have any idea.
I just don't know. There probably are. I mean, hey, if there are armed guards for some reason suddenly in the briefing room that weren't there before at the door, and the TV's not showing that, it's only showing the podium. I mean, there are things there that could matter. I don't know. Nonetheless,
Yeah, sure.
I still think it's bad. I think this whole, like you said, a Democratic president isn't stopping Fox News, or
Right.
I've seen ridiculous networks in there like OAN or
Like
whatever.
Newsmax.
Yeah, exactly. So this just
OAN networks and
this just feels bad. but
it's
your
just
problem,
what oligarchs
listen,
do.
No, you see, yeah, but this is your problem right now. You're almost like shrugging it off because of all of the other terrible things that are going on and the bad things that this administration does, and you're almost like, it's whatever.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of other bad stuff going on.
Of course. I'm not in a position to argue this, obviously. Like, nothing you and I do will have any effect to this. We both agree that you should let the AP into your press room.
Right.
Because they're one of the most reliable news reporting conglomerates. What's the word? Like coalition in the US?
Sure. Agents? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean...
okay.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Let's keep it rolling. We have a lot of smaller things to get to today. I do enjoy this one from Reuters. Speaking of these types of organizations, let's share this tab instead. I don't know if you've seen this. Musk staffers have quit over confusion from his latest ultimatum to government workers. So, I'm sure everybody by now, if you're listening to this episode, if you listen to political podcasts or follow any of this, know by now that Elon Musk and DOGE and the OPM have sent emails to hundreds of thousands of federal workers in the last week saying, or actually it was like on Thursday, like last Thursday or something, basically saying, you have to respond to this email with 5 bullet points of what you did last week. And if you don't respond to that email, we will consider it, you resign, right?
Right.
And then, so several people did not respond. Several people responded with memes or nonsense. Several agency heads told their department not to respond and that they would handle communications. People were worried about sensitive information being passed over these emails. I mean,
not just sensitive, but in some cases classified information.
Right. I mean, it was a real
classic Elon Musk shit show.
Right. Exactly. You know what? Yeah, you here, let me share the image that you just shared with me.
Yeah, sure.
Folks can see. So, here's the email that was sent out.
This is in response to.
Oh, this is
the
from
name
HHS.
5 things.
Yeah.
This is from HHS.
There is no HHS expectation that HHS employees respond to OPM, and there is no impact to your employment with the agency if you choose not to respond. I love this. And you know what's funny is that the FBI also said something similar. And the FBI is now run by Kash Patel and right-wing podcaster Dan Bongino. But it's hilarious that there's already now a power struggle between Elon and Kash Patel, and this is going to start happening. So they said essentially the same things that this HHS email laid out. Then let's take this even further. Elon Musk tweeted, I believe yesterday, that per the discretion of the president of the United States, there will be another email asking you once again to respond to these 5, to respond with 5 bullet points. And this time, for real. It's for real. If you don't respond for realsies this time, then it's going to be considered termination.
Yeah. Or resignation. And you have to remember, this is all... this is posturing for legal reasons. They want to have to pay severance of any kind.
Sure.
They don't want any wrongful termination suits. They want it to be voluntary,
right,
but also mandatory.
Right.
So if if you fail to respond because you were sick or whatever, that's a resignation, not them terminating you. Which is not how any of this works, but we've said that so many times now that sentence seems to have lost all meaning.
It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, and in fact, it was interesting because I started, going down the rabbit hole on this, and I really should have copied this for our show notes. But I found a legal precedent that said that you can't have an affirmation from a negative. So, like, if you don't do something, it can't affirm something.
Right.
There's like a legal ruling that basically says that this can't do nothing.
Love it.
Yeah, because you can't. Oh, never mind. It's just so dumb.
I get what you're saying. So anyway, I know a few people that work inside the federal government. We shared, a scoop that we got earlier this week about how some government employees are responding. Nothing's gonna happen to these guys. If they are going to be removed from office, they are going to force Elon to quote unquote fire them, and Elon does not have the authority to do that.
And he doesn't have the authority.
Yeah.
Well, we don't think he has the authority.
Well, now that brings up a really interesting question, and something I believe you just posted on Blue Sky earlier. Who's the head of DOGE?
The administrator. It's the big sticking point. I'll try and get it included in the show notes, but the Legal Eagle did an amazing video essay on this last week, just trying to break it down. And there's a bunch of like legalese in place that says that like the administrator is the official position, but Elon's not, like, he doesn't have that position. He's just a special counsel to the president. So he doesn't actually have any capacity or authority to fire or hire or anything else. But maybe the administrator of DOGE does, but it's sort of up in the air because there's a lawsuit pending. And now when they ask in the press room, who is the administrator of DOGE, the White House press secretary says, I'm not going to reveal the name of that person from this podium, which is just the stupidest response you could give.
I mean, that's the most transparent you could ever be from
Elon boasting on his stupid X platform about how transparent DOGE is, and you won't tell us who's in charge of it.
Yeah.
But you legally have to. Also, there's a standing expiry date for the position. So it's like, well, has that clock started? Is this person actually doing a job right now? Do they exist?
Does this person exist? Yeah. Is it a chainsaw? Is the person a chainsaw?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just keep going. Let's go on to the next thing. Related though. So this isn't really going on to the next thing, but this is kind of related. By the way, Mark Elliott, I'm not sure. I should know how to say his name. It's Elias, right? Or Elias.
Yeah.
I've only ever read it. I've seen him on
Yeah.
you know,
His Democracy Dogged podcast, probably. He has another station that we listen to on YouTube. Station. It's channel on YouTube.
Station. Good
Sorry, that's
Lord.
how old I am.
Turn your dial to, yeah.
Yeah,
Tune in,
and I think
folks.
I've heard him say Mark Elias, but apologies if we're getting it wrong. I'll look at
I can't believe that because Mark, and I think I said this to you earlier today, Mark is like the only thing that's pretty much holding up the entire country right now. Like he's holding us
the
together.
vanguard, man. He's the shield out there, just blocking everything that these people do. And it's the reason that they're going after the judiciary so hard this time around, where they're saying like, you know, things like the judiciary can't stop an executive, like the president should have blah blah blah, and these are unconstitutional judicial verdicts and things. And it's like they're trying to erode the sanctity and belief in our judicial system because they can't beat that.
Right.
Like that requires logic and a law degree and understanding the implementation of the law, which Mark Elias does very well, and he argues it and keeps winning in court.
Yeah, so I don't know if Mark is directly related to this particular case here, where a federal court has ruled to block the Trump administration from implementing the OMB funding pause, and then quotes, "The public's interest in not having trillions of dollars arbitrarily frozen cannot be overstated." I mean, yeah. I mean, we saw it with what just happened with USAID. You know, $500 million in food rotting away in shipping containers. You know, vital medication, HIV medication, you know, life-saving drugs and medication just sitting, expiring, instead of saving tens of thousands of lives. You can't just, we talked about this a little bit last week, and I had said, you know, Al Gore was kind of like the original DOGE, you know, in the Clinton administration, where they had gone through and they had cut like a whole bunch of funding and you know, government employees, etc. But you know, you cannot do it the way that Elon and his team are doing it, which is just to go in and say, all right, what happens if I hit the delete key? You just you can't do that. You can't do that with anything. You know?
No, but I think that's the it feels like that's the point. That's their goal here, is that they want to make it as painful as possible to these federal employees, so that while we're waiting on court judgments and verdicts that the administration may or may not, you know, listen to, you're not getting a paycheck.
Right.
You have rent to pay, and you've got groceries to buy, and you got to fill your car with gas and get to work. Like, you can't keep doing a job if they're not giving you your compensation for it.
Right.
And that's the idea. They're trying to make it as painful as possible so that these people just leave and stop doing it. And again, they want it to be voluntary. They don't want to fire you. They want to make it so unbelievably painful for you to continue working there that you'll just not do it anymore. I'm hoping that you know, all these federal agencies and all these federal employees can last the storm while these court cases are raging. And again, you're hoping the admin, I don't know why he would, but eventually just gives in and follows the judicial orders.
Well, he is the law. I don't know.
Without any checks and balances, he is the law. That's true.
Yeah, I don't know if you know about this, but he is the law. In fact, let's move over to, I have to play this clip. I mean, because if you haven't heard this clip yet,
it's gonna hurt me, isn't it?
No, I mean, I think we've played it on, oh man, did I not share it?
We'll find out.
Oh yeah, here we go. Nope, here we don't go.
Well, I think we're going to be...
No, that's not the one. Stand by. Here it is. All right, let's share this. So this is an exchange that happened with the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, and Donald Trump. So this is just truly insane. So let's listen in.
The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state.
So a couple things here. First of all, I don't know if you could hear it, but she said a couple things under her breath that weren't as easy to hear. One of them was when she said, "I'll see you in court," which, by the way, wow, like
Good for her.
Good for her. That's how you do it. You look a fascist in their fascist face, and you and you tell them, you know. And good for her because she has more whatever. Cojones, right, than anybody else in that room for being able to do that. But she said, "I'll see you in court," and he responded, "Good, that should be easy then." And then she said, "Easy for me." So I really enjoyed that. That whole exchange was great from her end, but for him, he said, "Are you going to comply with this?" And she said, "I will comply with state and federal law." Meaning to say, if you want this to be a thing, if you want your stupid thing to be a thing, then make it a law. And I basically don't have a choice. But right now, we are complying with state and federal law. To which he responded, "We are the federal law." Which is, sorry, the president of the United States doesn't understand how civics works. But no, you're not the law. That's just not how it works.
It's called the executive branch because you are the execution of the law. You don't make law, that's Congress. You don't enforce law, that's law enforcement. You are the executive. That's all you do.
I think a number of people just learned something today. Wow. Including Trump.
No, I'm guessing not. I'm guessing he didn't. The other thing he said in there that's absolute gibberish is he's like, "I did very well in Maine. I think I did he lost Maine by almost 100,000 votes. He's just a liar. He's a liar and a con artist. Everything he said in that sentence was gibberish."
Well, he just said, it's not even so much that he lies. Like, yes, he lies, but he just says words. He doesn't know if they're true or not. He just says whatever he wants to be the truth, you know? And I think another great example of that, and I'm gonna stay on because I think you posted this. This one. I just love this. So let's play this one as well.
By Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total default, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear, we have 230.
I mean, how fantastic is it that
that
Macron was like, "Wait a minute," and put his hand.
Settle down, Grandpa.
He put his hand over Donald's hand, like over his lap.
I know.
And was like, hold on, idiot. Excuse me. Hold on. Anyway.
I think that's just, it's a great showing. I want so very much to see more world leaders do that. I think I posted that specifically. I was like, we need to have that more often where we have, like, you know, democratically elected world leaders just treating him correctly in this way and just being like, "No, you're wrong, and here's why," and just keep talking.
Right.
He's proven that he doesn't do well at this age with people just railroading him.
Right.
He had trouble with that in the Biden debate. He definitely had trouble with that in the Kamala debate. It's been getting progressively worse where he used to do that. He's like out of energy and he can't really do it. So Macron just kind of starts talking and then puts his hand on him and like shoves him out of scene. And he's like, "Now the French guy's talking." And he's like, no.
Actually.
And that's all he's got. He can't even push back hard anymore.
Yeah. And he was doing this. He was like, I don't know. Like, no, Donald, you just have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's all posturing at that point. It doesn't have, it looks weak. And I think that a lot of other people have pointed out is that he looks weak in situations like this. And this is how elected ally leaders specifically should treat him. But I'm wondering too, I don't know if you saw this, I just sent you, did Macron hurt his hand? Did you see this? This is an Aaron Rapar. I'm going to have Nate bring it up. It's an Aaron Rapar post that he found. It's a Getty image of Trump after this meeting, like holding his hands together. And he's got like this big fat bruise on the one hand. And it's the hand that Macron like held him down on. And so I'm wondering, like, is he at the age now where any like a little bit of force causes him to like bleed and bruise? Like, did Macron do that?
Let's try and maybe we can I make this a little bit bigger? No, that didn't work for me. Let's
30 billion frozen assets in Europe. Russian assets, but this is not
for the people
as a
looking at
collateral
this
of
is
a loan,
like,
because
this is at
bonus
that green yellow stage of bruise where it probably hurts a lot. It's got some like red purple around the edges of it. Just looks nasty.
Unfortunately, we can't see, at least in this clip. Oh, I'm on the wrong. I wasn't sure. We can't see in this clip.
Yeah, it's covered by the chevron, right? So it's like you can't. That's too bad.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I wonder if somebody has another angle.
Yeah, I wonder if we went and found like a French feed or something instead of the Fox News affiliate, that we might have a better angle there. But
can we just also talk about like what's going on this hand here? I mean, this looks like
I don't want to be ageist here. I mean,
no, I don't. But this just looks like somebody who's not really taking good care of themselves.
Right.
It looks like there's fungus growing here. I mean, this if you crop this out right here, this looks like a big toe that you're like, hey, you need to. You
got athlete's foot.
Get some athlete's foot. Just clear it up a little bit. This just looks like somebody who's sitting at his desk drinking Diet Coke and watching television to see what they're saying about him. I mean,
doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good.
I don't know. I had put those two together, and I wanted to ask if you thought that maybe that was it. Because
I mean, that's what people.
Yeah, so that's what people are speculating on. I didn't dig into the comments on this one. This is one I found in passing, and I found it interesting.
I mean, this says this generally happens to older people if they are constly shaking hands. I mean, yeah. I mean,
the same thing happened. I think that I talked about this in the California fires episode that we did, where Trump came to California and he met Gavin Newsom on the tarmac. And of course, Newsom's quite a bit younger than him. And there was in this video that Newsom gave him a pretty firm handshake, and like Trump visibly like winced at it. Like he didn't look like he enjoyed it. And so I'm like, I'm thinking that a lot of his fellow Democratic leaders are letting him know who's in charge with the handshakes these days.
I mean, this person also brings up a good point, because, I've seen this personally a lot too. Like, could this have been a bad idea? Yeah. So interesting.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And it's harder, obviously, in older folks in particular, to find, like, if you're trying to do, like, say, a banana bag, because he is older, and he's doing a lot, like, activity wise, right? So he's probably dehydrated a lot, and they might have to give him a banana bag to keep him going. You're on the Air Force One, they do that all the time with a lot of presidents, not just like elderly, but like even Barack Obama had that. But in the elderly, it's hard to find a vein to do at the elbow, because they don't have the blood pressure to do that. And if you talk to any nurses, they go to the hand next. In fact, my wife has terrible veins. They always go to her hands, because that's the only place they can find a vein.
I have terrible veins. It's the worst, man. I hate going to get my blood drawn or something, because they poke me so many times. It's the worst. Yeah.
Because they don't believe you. That's what they do with my wife. They're just like, I'll try your elbow like 16 or 17 times.
I say it to every single one of them, and they're like, oh, I've been doing this for 10 years. You'll be fine. And then it's like, oops.
I've never blown a vein in my life, in my career. And then,
Okay.
I want to circle back just really quickly. Okay. One more thing from that press conference. We were talking about Maine's governor. I went and checked the 2022 Maine gubernatorial election. It was Janet Mills versus Paul LePage, if you remember who Paul LePage is.
I don't.
And she won that by like literally 100,000 votes. So I'm not really worried about her electability as compared to, grandpa here.
Well, I think what just happened for her is great for her career. I mean, she stood up.
Oh yeah, she's got
Yeah.
campaign fodder for years.
Oh
now.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause she just says, I'm going to run up against Trump every chance I get, and I'm going to stick him to the wall, and then everybody votes for him.
Yeah. No, that was great.
It's one of the only reasons I think that Newsom succeeds in California, because he's sort of widely disliked even by Democrats in this state, like just for a lot of reasons. But he does like lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit and state position and try and whip the state Congress or state Senate into passing laws that are very anti-Republican in nature. So he's always fighting with the GOP and Trump in particular the last few years.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I wanted to bring this next story. So I'll throw in something, I guess, nice, I guess positive. I mean, depends on how you want to look at it. I need to give credit to Apple for two stories that Apple has been in the news lately. And the first one I'll share is this one. This is Apple shareholders vote to keep its diversity policies. And this isn't coming from the shareholders. This was the board actually suggesting to the shareholders that it vote this way. And specifically, if you go all the way to the top, Apple's current CEO, Tim Cook, has said that, its collaboration with people of all different cultures and backgrounds is part of what makes the culture at Apple work. And so they are not succumbing to the GOP's ridiculous attacks on DEI. Right. I mean,
I think it's important to note too that Apple is a worldwide company. We think about them in terms of being based out of like Silicon Valley in that area, but they have employees all over the world. And to even like hint at a signal of like, we don't want to have, people of color, we don't want to have women, we don't want to have inclusion in this way, it is just hugely destructive. It's not a good look for employees who work for you to have a public stance of like antagonism against them. So I mean, it feels like it's such a small thing to do, to be like, okay, you didn't throw away this thing, and good for you. So it's so easy.
I asked, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, the episode before, whether Tim Cook was at the inauguration, because I couldn't remember.
Yeah, you asked. Yeah.
And he was. But I'll say that everybody else there, Mark Zuckerberg, Musk, obviously, Google, everyone, Bezos, everybody that was there, they've already acquiesced. Right, they've already Meta has already started removing their DEI policies. They've been removing fact checking. They've been doing some just ridiculous things. Google the same way, and Apple stood its ground. And we're seeing that old the nonsense saying that the right has is if you go woke you go broke, which just certainly isn't true. Costco is another one that said we're not going to touch our DEI policies, and people have rallied behind them. People are rallying now behind Apple. Target was one that went the other way, and now they're hurting from it, and they're going to eventually, it sounds like, going to try and reverse some of the damage that they've already done. So
these publicly traded companies, when they make stances like this that are, I mean, you have to imagine that at the top, they're doing the cost benefit analysis, right? They're like, on the one hand, we have to bend the knee so that we get preferential treatment from the God King. And on the other hand, we're a publicly traded company, and we don't kind of care what the God King says. We care what the shareholders say. Well, so you have to really do that tightrope walk to get it right. And I will call out Apple for a lot of their practices, and other companies as well. Costco, I mean, they do things that are not in the best interests of their employees specifically, but they do stand in the right light in present day with these initiatives, I think.
Yeah, and I think the other one, which I don't have a story ready linked up, but the other one to share with Apple is recently the UK basically said, "Hey, you need to put a backdoor into your encryption, into your end-to-end encryption service that you offer here in the UK, so that the government can get into user data when they need to." And Apple said, absolutely not. And the UK said, well, basically, you need to. If you want to have this encryption service, you have to do it. So Apple said, well, then we're just not going to allow end-to-end this encryption service in the UK. And if that means that people are going to go with a different provider because of it, so be it. But we're basically gonna make the consumers pissed at the government instead of us. Why are we gonna acquiesce?
Which is the right way to do it.
It's the right way to do it. So that is one case where, because if you've listened to this podcast at all, you know I'm not here to defend corporations. Corporations exist to live and breathe, to make as much money as humanly possible, despite any, opposition from consumers, employees, like whatever. They're just there to make as much money as possible, no matter how. And this, I think, is a little bit. I think this is a little bit counter to what we're used to seeing, especially in a corporation this size. So I have to give a little bit of credit here to Apple for that.
Yeah, it's, and this isn't the first time that they've done something like this with regard to security. Obviously, Nate and I are both in the tech field, and we are very close ear to the ground on these sorts of things. But Apple has in the past as well, basically told the FBI in a couple of instances, like, we can't help you with this encryption breaking. We don't have the keys or a back door to help you.
Yeah.
And we're not going to build it into our system. And then it's push come to shove again here in the UK, where they said, build it or you won't be able to operate in the UK. And they said, we're not building a backdoor in it. We're just going to say that your users can't have it. And we're still going to market it. We're still going to talk about how great this system is. And for those who don't know, this is just like an offline encrypted data from your phone. So think like your photos and your documents and your phone calls and your text messages, they get downloaded onto Apple's servers somewhere. And this is an offline encrypted storage mechanism that says no one can decrypt your stuff except you. Apple can't decrypt it. The government can't decrypt it. Foreign enemies can't decrypt it. And this is a good feature. And users should be extremely happy about this. I think back to the simplest explanation was, like, I think it was a John Oliver, but it may have been a John Stewart long, long ago, about the government can't see your dick pics, is basically how they framed it.
Yeah.
And they went around asking people, like, are you worried that the government can see your dick pics? And they're like, what? So no, this system says, no, okay, everybody but the UK, your government can't see your dick pics. UK, be careful with that. They can see your dick pics.
Okay, so we have actually some breaking news that I'm going to share right now. So this will probably be breaking. This is breaking for you as well. Just earlier in the podcast, we did not know who the administrator of DOGE is, and now
they announced it.
We have an answer. The administrator of DOGE is one Amy Gleason. This has been confirmed via the DC Examiner, and we also have a post to Amy Gleason's LinkedIn, so we have her experience here. But we'll just note that Max Kennerly here says, congrats to Amy Gleason, who was totally named DOGE admin out of the blue and is going to get pulled into 1,000 court hearings where she has to say, I don't know, over and over, because she genuinely doesn't, and watch federal judges' faces turn beet red. And then questions, so then what exactly is Musk's role? So yeah, we'll see here Amy Gleason's past experience while she was senior advisor to the U.S. Digital Service for 2 months. She's a consultant in her own consultant agency for about 6 years. She was the chief product officer for looks like a venture capitalist firm. She was the chief product officer for a health company. And then for 3 years as well, was a digital service expert for the White House.
So I'll point out something interesting here that I think might have fallen past the fold here, but senior advisor, now go back up to the top,
Okay.
please. Senior advisor to the United States Digital Service is an oversight. They haven't updated their LinkedIn thing. Recall that that was renamed to the United States DOGE service. So
All
that's
right,
how
so
they
this is
created
DOGE.
the stupid agency without creating an agency.
Right.
They took an
No, you're
agency
totally
that had
right.
a G in it and
Yeah.
renamed it.
No, you're totally right. I actually completely missed that. Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's funny. Did she backdate it?
I mean, she must have, because she was never announced, and like,
Well,
I mean,
and plus it says senior advisor. So was she always an advisor, but now she's the administrator?
oh, that's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, probably that's what happened, is that they were looking for a scapegoat to get under the bus, and she said, "I'll do it."
These.
Oh my God! Now, why wouldn't they announce it at the podium? That's my next question. If I'm literally any,
They didn't have. They
media
didn't
thing
know.
at the
They
next,
didn't know. Right?
no, the next briefing, the very next briefing, I go, you said you wouldn't be announcing who the administrator was from the podium. Why did you not want to announce that it was Amy Gleason?
Yeah. What's wrong with announcing that?
What's wrong with knowing that?
Yeah. I mean,
Can
they're
you
just gonna
confirm that?
they're just gonna hand wave that. That's gonna be a nothing. That's a nothing.
I know, but
you
the whole point of being in the press room is to embarrass the press secretary for the Trump admin, because she's obviously a moron and just lying for the God King.
Yeah.
Man, that's some good breaking news, Nate.
Hey, I listen, if you guys aren't on Blue Sky, it reminds me of when Twitter was good,
Yeah,
but also like all the noise kind of is filtered out. So like if you're specifically looking for like breaking political news, I mean, first of all, just come to our thing and follow our news sources list. I think that list is like available for anybody to follow.
yeah, it should be under our lists.
And
If you go to our page and go to our lists, you should see it.
I mean,
Called news sources at bluesedition.com.
Yeah, we throw people in here who we think are reliable. Speaking of, here's Marissa. It's Marissa and our intern. Huge fan of Marissa, who has done some incredible reporting, especially these last couple of weeks. So
she broke a story just the other day, as I recall.
She what?
She broke a story just the other day.
She breaks several stories.
She broke the story from HUD over the weekend.
Oh,
the video that we're ready to share.
Are we going to share it? All right. You know what?
I feel like we have to.
I'm not going to describe this for the people that are
people
listening.
Who are lovely enough to not have eyes here.
Yeah,
lucky enough, rather.
But so the other morning, was it yesterday morning? I don't know what day it is anymore. I think this was yesterday morning.
Yeah, this was broke yesterday, Sunday morning.
No, yesterday was Monday
morning. Excuse me.
Yeah. There was a video playing on almost all of the monitors at the Housing and Urban Development headquarters in DC when the day that mandatory return to office began, and the video was playing on loop of Donald Trump sucking Elon's toes with text over it reading "Long live the real king." Imagine you walk into this government building and this is just on loop on all of the monitors.
The resistance is real, man. I'm telling you.
I mean, wow.
There are federal employees who aren't going to take this sitting down. I love it.
Yeah, people aren't happy right now, man. I mean, what's funny is so many people now, former Trump supporters, probably still Trump supporters, have been caught up in this. And it's like, whoa, wait! I didn't think me. I didn't think.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah. Why me? Yeah, you're starting to realize, that none of this is for you. This has never been for you. Okay, this is all about them. And we're seeing today as the House and Congress argues over the proposed Republican budget bill, where is the $1.2 trillion in savings going to come from? How do you do that without cutting Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, programs that affect majority of Trump supporters.
Right.
So people wake up, man. It was never about your eggs being so you know you have to just come out and admit it. Like, are you a racist so much so that you're willing to forego anything good that the government is doing for you just to hurt immigrants and brown people, people that don't look like you? Or, are you going to finally admit that this is actually a problem and that these government safety nets matter? And that, which one is it? Because guess what? I went to the grocery outlet day before yesterday, and the eggs there, which I was getting for $4.99 at the end of Biden's administration, which was still high, are $11.99 right now. Okay? They've nearly tripled since Biden has left office. And we were told, so now Trump supporters are saying, well, don't you know that there's a bird flu going on? Don't you know that there's the avian flu out there? And yeah, we were aware. That's what we were telling you. But your king God, your God king, right, told us on day one, he was going to fix it. Day one. What's going on, guys?
He's not even talking about it. They're not doing anything.
He's not.
And I agree. There's nothing he could do.
But he's not even pretending.
But he's not even pretending. And this is his game plan every single time he runs for president or he's campaigning on something. His position is, I'm the best at negotiating. I'm going to get it done day one. And people believe him for some reason. And then he just doesn't do anything about it.
Here's what it is to me. Donald Trump grabs the football. He puts the football down like Lucy and Charlie Brown. One of his Trump supporters comes over and says, can I kick it? And Trump says, yeah, you can kick it. And the Trump supporter kicks it, misses, lands on his ass because Trump pulled the football away. But except the Trump supporter is getting back up. And instead of being mad about that, it's going, let me watch that ASMR video again of the immigrants being deported because that's so funny. What is happening?
Yeah, I don't know. And it'll be interesting, I don't want to talk about them, but many people from the center Democrats. I don't know why this.
Sorry, that's been up for way too long.
This is causing me problems.
Sorry, I could tell you were visibly disturbed.
I was distracted. But there are people who I think are like middle of the road Democrats, centrist leaning, old liberals, that sort of thing, who are now in a position of just accelerationism, where they're just like, you know what? I kind of want the GOP to just completely destroy these public goods, these services that are offered, because it's going to ruin so many people's lives that is what it will take for them to learn. And I'm like, hey, that's such a horrible way to think about this world.
I mean,
honestly, I understand it. In my darkest hour, I might feel that way, but I genuinely don't think that burning the building down is the way to do it.
And I'm not sure it actually does change the mind of most people. I mean,
if you're one of the people who, get support from Medicaid or Medicare, or you're living on your Social Security, and you get these services and you voted for Trump to do away with the waste, and then you lose access to them because they were deemed waste. Are you going to learn anything from that? I mean, you're not going to be able to go to the doctor anymore, and you're going to stop getting checks in the mail, and you still have bills to pay, I assume. So you're going to learn that somebody voted to take that away from you because they have to vote on the budget. They can't shadow docket it. They have to vote on the budget. And eventually, someone has to vote yes on, I'm going to cut Medicaid. Right? Someone has to vote yes on, I think we should take Social Security away from the seniors.
And somehow that'll be blamed on Biden or Obama or whatever. And some of these people actually buy that. I mean, that's the thing. We said Trump wasn't addressing inflation, prices at the grocery store, eggs, anything like that. The only thing that he has said, even anywhere near any of this stuff, is the post that he made on Truth Social, maybe a couple of weeks ago, where he said Biden inflation is at an all-time high. Well, listen,
Right.
man, either the president, controls inflation.
Biden has a lot of control over that, given that he's not the president anymore.
Frankly, how weak of a president do you have to be? If the other guy is still in charge, and
is Biden still in charge?
Is Biden still in charge? I mean,
do you remember that? Do you remember after 2020 and then Biden was elected, there was that I don't know, there was a very niche group of Republican voters who were like, no. Trump's still in charge. He's behind the scenes and he's controlling everything.
Right.
Biden's just a puppet and all this other stuff. It's like, well, how do you feel now?
I mean, yeah, which one is it?
Biden doing that now?
Yeah, which one?
But I want to talk really quickly about that though, because I think that it is important. Going back to the way that people vote, the way that your representatives vote, the way that the Senate votes on things, and how Democrat messaging needs to change. I think that thinking about the Harris campaign in particular, because it's obviously the most recent in memory, we spent so much time and effort and dollars on her campaign, like making promises that were like sort of just like high level Democrat talking points, right? We're going to restore Roe v. Wade. We're going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of the Trump campaign money went to Harris's trying to turn everybody trans, and Harris is going to try and tank the government, and Harris is going to do this, and Harris is going to do that. I think we need to just change messaging tact. I think that people, especially in this voting time, understand attack ads better than they do the nuanced Democrat approach. You need to be like, if you're in Texas, you need to be like, Senator Cruz took away your Social Security. Vote for me. I will restore it. Like, you need to have that simple messaging of, he did this. Vote for me and we'll fix it. And it's not, I want to make Roe v. Wade again. Be like, no, he took it away. We vote for me and we will restore it.
Yeah, it's hard
too much, it's not enough finger pointing.
It's hard to believe them at this point. And frankly, though I agree a little bit, I mean, I feel like you can't even campaign on the problem the Democrats have is a lot of times when they do the Trump finger pointing, they do it in a way that makes it seem like they don't have anything else to run on. Like, it's just like, we're better than the other. I'm better. At least I'm not that guy. Like, look at how bad that guy is. And they're not offering any real, I think this was the problem with the Harris campaign, in my opinion, was they weren't offering any real change. It was like, I know you're struggling right now, but isn't what was going on with Biden so much better than what Trump, a Trump term could do?
I agree.
It was status quo.
That was the messaging. Yeah, that was the messaging. It was like, things were fine. Let's stick to it. And every voter was like, they're not fucking fine. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just disillusionment. I don't understand how they can't, see that for what it is. But obviously, hopefully, in the midterms, the messaging will be more of, things are really fucked up, and it's his fault.
Sure.
He voted this way.
Okay, so I want that, but I don't want I had this argument the other day. I want it to be, things are fucked up. It's his fault. Here is what we're going to do and how we're going to fix it. That needs to be the main message. What are you as the Democrats going to do to stop this? Because right now, all I'm hearing is Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer hemming, hawing, no, we can't really do anything. Like, no, nobody wants to hear that. Fucking even just lie to me. Like, we've talked about this before. Like, come on, man. You sound weak and pathetic. Like, what are you going to do to fix this? And that needs to be the messaging from any new Democrat that comes onto the scene to fight for a seat in the midterms.
I agree. I think that those are the three tenets. That things right now are fucked up. They broke it. Here's how. I'm going to fix it in these ways.
Yeah.
Very simple, clear messaging that you can fit into a 30-minute ad or 30-second ad buy.
And actually, I want to find a clip as well that I saw yesterday. But first, because it's kind of related to this, but also
It is
related is Lindy Lee here. We talked. I don't know if we shared any of this on Blue Sky, but you and I have talked about her a little bit. And Lindy Lee, as John Pavlovitz points out here, was like a very passionate Democrat, supposedly.
Passionate.
And she was one of the lead strategists, I think, for Kamala during her, her presidential run. She quote unquote here, loved Joe Biden, was constantly posting with Dems in Congress, attending events, raising money. And then suddenly, the day after the election, she completely pivoted to fiercely supporting Trump and trashing the Dems nonstop on Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, whatever she could get on. And it's just craven soul selling. And it is really
I hope that it's just that. I hope that she's just a money grubber like the rest. And she's just like, I go to the highest bidder. They paid me enough money. I'll vote for whoever they want. Like that, I don't condone it, but I can understand it at the very least. But man, it really feels like the Democrat voters are constantly getting the rug pull from these candidates that run on this messaging that we're talking about. We're going to shake things up. We're going to change it. We're going to improve things. They get elected, and then suddenly they're like, well, actually, I'm more of an independent, and I am. And the key word, the code word is always, I'm actually more of a fiscal conservative Democrat. And then, a few votes later, they're like, actually, I'm truly an independent. And then eventually I'm a Republican, actually. And then they either lose their seat, or they walk away, like in the case of Cinema, because they've got greener pastures somewhere where they're going to go be a part of a think tank or
lobby
lobbyist or something, because they know they can make more money doing that. Or they just end up being a Republican, a la like Manchin, for instance, where he was a Democrat, but he voted against the Democrat bloc all the damn time.
Yeah.
They don't have dinos, but we could have called him that.
Yeah. It's sad because, it's also hard to identify. So there are these people that are coming out of the woodwork.
But that was the other thing that I wanted to say is it just that, like, did the Harris campaign not know? Like, did they really not know who this person was? I have to quote Coach Finstock here because he summed it up great. He said, Lindy Lee, a member of the DNC National Finance Committee and top-level consultant on the Harris campaign, flipped to the GOP as soon as Harris lost. That's why you fucking lost. You have a grifter Republican running your campaign, pretending to be a Democrat.
Right.
She's even defending Pete Hegseth.
I know, which she's doing right here.
It's hard
to believe.
Like, are you just not digging into these positions that you're staffing for your campaign, or do you not actually want to win?
Yeah, it's
like,
hard.
I don't understand.
It's hard for me to believe. I'm not a John Pavlovitz follower. I think, as you can see right here, I don't have the follow button hit. It's hard for me to believe that there were no signs that Lindy Lee was this type of person. I feel like, much like Liz Cheney, probably behind closed doors, she was more of a conservative, if anything, a moderate Democrat, but probably always more of a conservative. And there's none of us needed to know that, but certainly there's no way Kamala and her staff didn't know that. In my
but then why pick that person? Because it doesn't seem like that person is going to be, all in on the goals.
Man, I can't tell you why. I can't, because it almost seems like the Dems try to lose.
It's like if you were, if you're a professional, baseball team, like if you're the Dodgers and you hire the person to be your head manager who's still like gung-ho about the Giants. Like, I don't know how to make it any different. That's just like a bad idea. I don't care how good he is. He's never going to be the head coach of the Dodgers. You know what I mean?
He's just got a Giants tattoo, like on.
You're just like, that doesn't. they don't align.
It really almost feels like they're doing it on purpose. There's just no other. It's like, are you really that dense, or is there something else going on here?
I again, I want to believe that it's just like, the money grubbing. Like, these people understand each other because they're all in that political space where I feel like it's very likely that she's like, I'll work for you and I'll do good work for you, but I have to tell you that as soon as this is done, I don't expect you, because we all know that a lot of the campaign staffers didn't expect Harris to win. Like, that's come out since the election.
Sure.
And they probably had an honest conversation of, I'm going to jump to the biggest buck that I can find for the next thing, because I don't think there's a next thing here. I'm going to try, but then I'm going to go do that. No hard feelings. And like, okay, but man, the optics on that to the voter base is not good.
I mean, we could go another hour about me being pissed off about the Democrats. So maybe it's best just to wrap here, so we can end on it's like we were riding a little bit of a high.
Yeah. Little bit of a high.
As I was saying, we were riding a little bit of a high. I realized that my hand was doing something that I that by the way, it wasn't. But it does make me wanna. Should we at least talk about that a little bit?
The CPAC?
The CPAC, where we're now just saying it. We're now just saying it out loud.
Well, we just have more and more examples of people besides Elon, throwing sick Hiles out there now.
Yeah, it's just Bannon did the gesture, and then he looked and he like heard the approval,
He nodded,
and he nodded,
and
he nodded, and
very much a nod to who's.
Yeah, and then another, and I don't know who the I think it was a Mexican guy. I don't know what his name was. I don't want to give him any exposure.
No,
but then
no
he
reason
said,
to have any exposure.
"My heart goes out to you," which obviously it was a callback to
now the
phrase,
Elon,
the Elon thing, and then did the very deliberately did the hand motion, and then and there was I think we actually shared it on.
Of course we did.
Yeah. Here's the GIF that somebody put together. Yeah. Here it is. Of the three of them just doing it together.
Yeah.
Wait,
it's
well,
you get the gist of it. These three fellows, I can't actually make out his name, but
it's live now from Fox. That's a strange name, but
interesting.
Yeah.
Name.
No, I don't think anybody really knew who he was. I mean, I think I saw this from Aaron probably.
I think this is such a simple, just, if I'm running in the midterms, I'm just going to collect these and I'm going to run, this GIF with every single one of the big name ones. I'll make a 3x3 grid of the guys who end up doing it. And I'll be like, stop electing Nazis. That's all it's going to say.
Is it working? I don't think that works. This is my problem.
They weren't actively being Nazis.
Stephen Miller is a Nazi. I mean, he doesn't get more of a Nazi than Stephen Miller, right? And we couldn't get people to listen to that.
He's smart enough to not go out there throwing sikiles around.
I mean, fine, but his words were enough. But this goes back to my point of, it is not enough. If I were a Dem strategist and I were, Bernie Sanders isn't out there going, it's all, making his whole campaign speech about, let's see, when he was running in 2020, he wasn't making it all about Trump. He was saying what he wanted to do, what the working class needed.
He was on Medicare for all and maternity leave, paid maternity leave,
right.
And he was on, workers' bill of rights and all that stuff.
Exactly.
And to be perfectly frank, those things pulled really well. He was obviously.
You can argue that the reason why Joe Biden won was because he took a huge pages, many pages,
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
Bernie's book.
They found common ground once Bernie had basically dropped out. He was
Right.
like, okay, I have to move this direction.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm not going to get those voters. So I have to ask, because you put a spark in me here.
Uh-oh.
You say, those words, you were talking about the Nazis, like you said, those words don't move people.
Right.
And it makes me wonder, because words obviously are what move Democrat voters specifically. Bernie used his words. He's saying, here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan of action.
But
and he moved people with it.
Yeah.
I think that on the other side, on the right, the Republicans and whatnot, I think that they go more by action and optics than anything. And so if I can get these sorts of visuals in front of maybe middle right voters, maybe I can sway them away from their base in the midterms by using actions and optics.
There is something that definitely pulls both sides. I think that especially when you're in the opposition, Trump was always really good at when he was in the opposition in 2016 and then again in 2024, he was always really good at making people hate the status quo, like getting a visceral reaction to the status quo. He was good at blaming the other guy for the problems. The Dems are not good at blaming the Republicans for the problems, and the Democratic voters don't want to hear that anyway. They just want to know what it is you're going to do for us. And I think largely that is going to be the only way to pull away some of those Republican voters who think and who still think that like Biden caused the terrible situation that they're in. Because Biden did promise things that he didn't do. The Dems always promise things that they don't do, but
he also did things.
It doesn't
nobody
matter.
Gives him credit for it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I know.
So yeah, it's
So circling back, I mean, does that mean that in your view, things have got to get a lot worse? Like people have to feel it from the action of this administration. So we're going to have, Congress and the Senate pass cuts to things that hurt their voters before they actually believe the words that the Democrats use.
Well, I think well, first let me just say I don't think there's any way that things don't get worse. Like I mean, they're already worse. They're already worse 2 months in. At the very best for these people, it's going to be status quo, which was just gradual worseness.
Which they hated. They
which
voted
they hated.
On hating the status quo.
Yes, to answer the first part of your question, it is going to get worse. It's going to be very bad for them. Dems need to somehow find a way. I mean, I'm not studying this. I'm not sitting down here working on the strategy. This is just off the top of my head. But Dems need to find a way to say I don't know if it even needs to be an admission of guilt in this part, or at least the new Dems can come and say that. You're not going to find a Nancy Pelosi to say, hey, you know what? We have some part of the blame in this too, and we need to fix it. That's what made Bernie Sanders so alluring to people, I think, is that he was always kind of outside of the Democratic arena too. Like, yeah, he caucused with the Dems.
Independent.
Yeah, but he said, no, they're a problem too. Why don't we have Medicare for all? Why is the Dem establishment also stopping us? Like, yes, the Republicans are terrible. Listen, you guys already know the Republicans are terrible, but why are the Dems holding us back too? And I think that's where Bernie Sanders, AOC, any new blood looking to break into the Democratic Party who isn't just looking for a paycheck, who isn't just looking to cozy up to the Dem lobby and the Dem corporations to get paid. That's the way that you're going to break into this, and that's the way you're going to win.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a huge part of the problem is that obviously you're going to get fought by the Dems if you come in with the perspective of that, like, we need campaign finance reform, which is another one of Bernie Sanders' things. He goes, he's like, Nancy Pelosi is a multi-millionaire because of how she runs her campaigns and how she takes donations from the pharmaceutical industries and blah 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 blah. You run that as a Democrat, and they're going to use the entire DNC pocketbook to try and shoulder you out.
Yeah.
But that's the messaging that resonates with voters. So
And-
that's the challenge there. Is you're like, Democrats can't win without this messaging, and Democrats won't allow the messaging. So what do you do?
AOC has found a way around that, though, and I don't know what it is. I
Yeah.
don't know what the AOC magic is, but both AOC and Bernie have figured that out. So
I think she came in more like a down home Democrat, and I don't think the DNC took her seriously in her first campaign where she was
because it was
running.
very grassroots.
When she won,
yeah,
huh?
it was
Very
grassroots.
grassroots, yeah.
I mean,
And they didn't expect her. They didn't expect her to win that campaign. But when she did, her messaging changed to more align with Bernie, which is very popular amongst voters. And by then, the DNC couldn't stop her. They ran a ton against her in her first reelection bid. They ran millions of dollars against her, and she just trounced them because her messaging was so good by that point, and she had a following.
Yeah.
So you need more of those like sneaky tickets where they,
Sneaky tickets.
they're not there to get the money grabbed like the cinemas of the world, but they're there like to actually try and accidentally help the Democrats like the AOCs, despite themselves.
Well, let's see. Not let's see. I mean, we have a lot of time. But the 2026 midterms is going to be a real litmus test
next year
for the Democrats, and whether we're going to even be able to get to a 2028. Because if the Dems, if we stay on this trajectory and the Dems don't pick up ground everywhere in 2028, 2026, it's over. It's just over.
If there's not a blue wave in 26, then it means that the system it means really that the Democrats have given up.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't field anybody that was better than these guys in their hand gestures.
And right now it doesn't look, I'm just going to be honest, it does not look like they're up to the task. At least the current Dem leadership with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, I am not feeling the energy.
The messaging is just so bad. Their messaging is just it's chicken shit. It's just, oh, we can't do anything. Oh, woe is us. And I'd be like, don't even have that messaging. If you don't go on TV, if that's all you're going to say, you'd be better off just crying at home and no one knows about it than whining on TV like this. Cause you look pathetic.
It needs to be more like AOC, who is like,
you got to have some fire out there.
Yeah. You're going to come after me. Come at me. Come at me, bitch. Come at me.
I want Maine's governor. I want to be out there like, I'm
Maine's governor.
I'm gonna take your ass to court.
That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
Hakeem Jeffries should be out there be like, we're going to fight him on this entire budget deal that's coming. I'm not going to vote on anything that cuts Medicaid. I'm not going to vote on anything that cuts Social Security, and just get loud about it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to play from the Republicans do it every time they are the minority. They play from that position very well. We're not going to budge on this. We're not going to budge on that.
I mean, it's like,
it doesn't even matter that they can't do anything. It doesn't matter that he's right. There's not a whole lot Hakeem Jeffries can do, but that's not the position. You don't talk about that. What you say is, I'm not going to let them do this. I'm not going to let them do that, even if it's a lie, because it has to be that energetic, that fire up your base. You have to give Democrats a reason to want to believe in you.
Yeah, it's the whole, submission in advance that I think the Democrats are doing.
Yeah, just lying down.
Yeah, they need to turn it around, man. Do we need to go over there? I think we're
going to have to go over there.
I think maybe our next episode needs to be live from, the steps
from Capitol Hill.
The Capitol building. So maybe that's someday in our future.
Mike and Nate reporting live from being arrested from the Capitol building.
Okay. I think this is a good spot to wrap. We've gone over the hour mark.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so that we can pay our lawyers to keep us out of the Gitmo concentration camp, please.
Yeah, you can only call Stephen Miller a Nazi so many times before
the Gestapo come for you.
Before Cash Patel kicks in the door, and So luckily we're too small to be on their list, but I want to be on their list.
There's got to be some wordplay there along the lines of Gestapo, right? Because it's his brown boots, brown shirts. I mean,
yeah, you workshop that.
I'll workshop that a little.
Yeah, workshop that. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Until then, I don't know. fight.
Keep fighting.
But yeah,
Get mad.
get mad, get loud. I think maybe next episode, as we're talking, we're just going to start putting numbers of Congress people on the button, just so you can start spamming your congressman.
Just text them.
Yeah, just text, call, just get fired up. All right. We'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.